Hello, thank you for joining me. In this video I'd like to show you and introduce you to configurations. In this video series I'm going to show you configurations, design tables, and eventually equations in order to help us drive the model geometry of our design here. So configurations, as I explained in class, are like parts within a part. The configuration is very useful when you're trying to put together parts that have very similar geometry, where maybe only a couple different parameters change. One advantage to having a configuration is that you can have a variety of parts within a part, whereas when you change some of the configuration, some of the model geometry of a part, that it changes for all the parts that are associated with it. The alternative to that is like save a part like this and maybe save it again for a part that might have different dimensions to it, different lengths, different widths, which may not be practical if you have some geometry that needs to change in some of these parts. It may not be practical to open up all those different files if they number into the half dozen, dozens, or dozens and dozens of them. It's just not practical to open up all those files. So this is what configurations will do for you. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's look at our basic extrude and see the length of our shaft here in the middle. What we like to do is create a configuration, or maybe a couple configurations that make modifications to this value. So what you do is you go to the configuration manager. Right now we're in the feature manager, so if you go over to the configuration manager right next to the properties manager, and right now you should have a default configuration in there. What we're going to do is we're going to add a brand new one. If you right click on it, go to add configuration. We're going to call this, since we know the shaft length is about 200 now, we're going to call that 300 millimeters. And the description, we can write in something very similar to that. It's a description that will get imported into other parametric documents, such as drawings, if we want to use that. So green check mark, and yeah, nothing's changed. Our default's going to be 200. Our new configuration is going to be 300. But let's go ahead and create one more. We're actually going to call this 200 millimeters. Well, it'll be the same as our default. A green check mark. Just because we created these two different configurations doesn't mean anything's changed. What we need to do is change those dimensions. So let's do this. We're going to go ahead and click on that on the shaft, bring up that dimension. If you double click on that dimension, what you get is a dialog box here for the dimension. You know about the check mark and the X and the rebuild button, and reset to spin increment values, and assigning that dimension to a drawing, whether it's going to be imported into a drawing or not. But this is new. Now that we have a configuration form, we have a pull down tab here which gives us an opportunity to change that dimensions value to either this configuration, to all configurations, or we can specify specific configurations. Right now it's set for this configuration, but if we go to specify configurations, we can decide which one we want it to be. So right now we're going to do the 300, go to OK, or we can just do this configuration, which would be fine. Another option is to go over here. Now let's go ahead and change that. Before we leave this completely, another option is to go over here and change the values over here. So here's a configuration button over here, and it gives us the same values, either this configuration, all configurations, or we can specify the configurations. So we're going to go to OK. That's going to be 300. Green check mark, rebuild, bang. That's 300. 200 is the 200 one. Of course, the default is also set at 200. So that's kind of an introductory to configurations. In the next film I'll show you a little bit more on that, and then we'll start developing a design table to help us drive some additional configurations.